Hi, I've been asked to show you the biggest mistakes MSPs make with their RMM platforms. That is remote monitoring and management platforms, always a mouthful, which of course are used to look after all of their customer devices. And I'm going to do that in 5 minutes. So according to my maths, that's just 1 minute per issue. If you have an RMM, you can't afford to not watch this. So to be clear, these are the common issues and mistakes that we at Inbay see time and time again when we conduct our detailed RMM audit reviews. Okay, right, let's go. Let's bring up the clock. Mistake number 1. Most critical services are not monitored. So firstly, what are critical services? So broadly speaking, there are 2 types of services. You've got custom services, which are not integrated with the default monitoring, and then services which are integrated with the default monitoring. So custom services can relate to server-based, SANs, NAS, network devices. An example would be the overall storage status and volume status on a Nimble storage array. This is a custom service that you would want to monitor, but it's not included out of the box. So therefore not integrated with the default monitoring. You have to import it from the vendor management repository or use component-based monitoring. Critical services which are integrated with default monitoring, for example, server-based role monitoring such as Exchange, SQL, domain controllers, failover clusters. An example could be the Exchange database mount status. Is the database mounted? Has it just unmounted? That would definitely lead to a bad day. So some of these are included, others aren't. In our experience, we see the main issue is during the device discovery of the new device. The correct configuration is just simply not applied. So for example, let's take a switch. The correct SNMP-based values are not specified for the device, or it could be the SNMP is not enabled on the device, or there is a simple mismatch on the values that you've entered. Now, another example could be there is an outdated agent on the endpoint itself, which is preventing some of the monitoring from working. Or perhaps an issue with the notification profiles. We've seen some of the services are not in the notification profile, or the recipients are missed, or it's not configured to create a ticket. So to recap, mistake number 1, most critical services are not monitored due to missing the custom services that are not included with default monitoring, SNMP related issues or device discovery issues, misconfiguration in the notification profiles, or simply out of date agents. Right, let's move on. Mistake number 2, devices simply not monitored or managed. So let's start off by explaining unmonitored and unmanaged, because there is a difference. Unmonitored is where nothing is monitored at all on the device. Yep, you've missed it completely, which means it's simply not being monitored. No matter what happens in your RMM platform, it's not going to magically know about it, okay? It's out. Unmanaged, the monitors are applied, but the devices are perhaps stale, idle devices. You're trying, you've not missed it, but the monitoring is not done through the RMM because it's stale. I'm gonna come back to that. Unmonitored, none of the monitors are applied to the devices, is what we said. The primary reason is that you may have the monitoring policies, but they're not correctly targeted via filters and groups. You're not including them, so they are therefore unmonitored. Unmanaged, for example, could be agent issues on servers. The agent itself could be flagging an issue. If you don't get to respond to it quick enough and fix it, then it eventually moves from, oh, I have an issue, to the stale state. Therefore becomes unmanaged because it's gone stale. So when it comes to, say, network devices, which rely on the network probe to sit in the middle, the node itself, probe node, the node itself could be down or have an issue, which therefore could mean it's not reaching out to network devices to port their statuses. So finally, let's address laptops and workstations. The number 1 issue with these are that they're not always on or connected to the network. Therefore, they are most likely stale devices. They fall into that stale state area. Then they fall into the unmanaged category. You need to specify a strategy around them. So let's recap. Mistake number 2, devices simply not monitored or are unmanaged due to you've missed the device, you're not targeting the device through the filters or groups, you have an issue with the network probe, which is responsible for the network devices. And then a quick tip, think about laptops and workstations. It's your responsibility as an MSP. You need a strategy really around those device types. Mistake number 3, no best practice or strategy applied to your RMM. So firstly, I kind of dislike the term best practice. It can be vague. I feel a lot of people hide behind this. It's like, yeah, of course, we follow best practice. It's fine, it must be fine. It's best practice, it's best practice. Of course it's fine. Sorry, I'll stop going on. Best practice is commercial or professional procedures that are accepted or prescribed as being correct or most effective. So as an example, let's bring this back to our RMM platform. Let's consider service monitoring. Service monitoring. RMMs have options to not monitor disabled services and only monitor auto-run services, active services, the ones that are used. It is best practice to tick the option to not monitor disabled services, or you'll get a lot of alerts. You'll get a lot of white noise generating alerts you don't need, which makes it harder to respond to the ones that you do need to respond to. So okay, best practice, tick that or this will happen, which is a bad thing. Strategy. What is an RMM strategy? Let's just take patching as an example. Everybody needs a strategy around patching. Patching is a very sensitive area and a very complex area. There's third-party patching, there's patch windows, like timeframes, what patches to apply. It just goes on. There's been a lot of change around this area in recent years, which I'm not going to cover now. Perhaps next time? No, perhaps not. Let's take a very simple scenario. You have a Hyper-V host that's responsible for running multiple virtual machines, virtual servers. You're patching the host. As part of your strategy around patching Hyper-V, it should be to do a controlled shutdown of the virtual machines that Hyper-V is responsible for before patching the host itself, as well as bringing the VMs back online in the correct sequence. If you don't, it could lead to a very bad day indeed, potentially killing the machines. I mean, imagine database servers, SQL, Exchange, SharePoint, they don't like being just turned off. So that one option, tick the box, is part of your overall patching strategy for Hyper-V and all your Hyper-V clients, hosts. It's a policy within your MSP, it's part of your strategy when it comes to patching. So to conclude, mistake number 3, no best practice or strategy applied to your RMM. Define best practice in regards to your RMM. It does take time, but it's very much needed. Define your strategies. Patching is just one area. There are others like antivirus management, for example. Again, it takes time, but it's truly worthwhile. Still with me? Great. Mistake number 4, security for users and systems. Another massive area in our industry right now and a massive headache for MSPs. Let's just start off by talking about the core areas that should be protected in any business. Internet. Protect it by deploying advanced firewalls, secure web gateways. Your internal network, again, deploy endpoint firewalls, network log monitoring, etc. Users, you have to conduct user awareness training on security. Devices, we have to deploy AVs or EDR systems. Applications, we need to think about our application control policies. Then of course there's the data through backups, rollbacks, standby systems, disaster recovery, there's more of that. But our focus is on the RMM. So how do you protect your RMM? The first thing is, what we see is lack of implementing two-factor authentication, 2FA, for your users that are using your RMM platform. If you don't do this, you're opening yourself up to a security risk if you're not using 2FA. Lack of not using an application control mechanism to limit what applications can run on the devices, the endpoints. This is very important. You don't want to allow all applications to run on all devices. By limiting what can run on an endpoint, you are making it harder for rogue applications to get installed. Passwords. You need to have a good password management system and password management policies. Don't keep reusing the same passwords. Don't make all your service accounts on the same passwords. Reusing passwords is a bad thing. It's a security risk, period. User access controls based on the user's role. Don't give all of your techs access to everything in your RMM platform. Don't make everyone administrators. Define it based on the role the technician or the staff member is performing. Then give them access to what they need to perform their role. So to recap mistake number 4, which is security for users and systems, implement 2FA, do it. Implement application control. Don't reuse passwords, don't have a password management policy. And consider your user access should be configured per role, not administrator for everyone. Right, last one, promise, mistake number 5, lack of awareness of features in the RMM platform. And this one's a big one. You as a business, as an MSP, need to know what your RMM is capable of doing for you and your clients. What new features are coming in each release, how to utilize them, how to correctly apply them. This expands further. It is more than just features. It can be components, it can be policies, it can be third-party integrations. There's a lot going on here. These all change frequently. Some vendors of RMM platforms, they change multiple times in a single year. But this isn't bad news. This is great news. You're getting new functionality at the same cost. Great. Who doesn't like that? Attend the release webinars, attend the training, encourage your staff to take the training, attend the events when we can go again, read the documentation, or perhaps assign an internal product champion who is responsible for making sure you and your team is aware of new features and are trained in them. These RMM vendors have massive teams which are there to create content for you, do create content for you. It helps you easily understand what's new, what has changed. Make the most of it. End of the day, this is a line of business application which multiple staff within your MSP will use. It can make a vast improvement to how you service your clients and how efficient you run as a business. So let's summarize mistake number 5. It is lack of awareness of features in the RMM platform. Read the documentation and the content that is provided. Assign an internal product champion. Share the knowledge internally. Okay, that's it. How do we do? Yeah, not too bad. Check your RMM, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to shout if you need help. All the best.